All right. I love this balance, bosses, because when we go live, it says it's showtime. And so, welcome to Showtime with Angela Davis Sullivan. And she is the founder of Adaptive Dental Solutions. Thank you so much for being here, Angela. It's a pleasure to know you, and it's even more fun to be able to visit with you today. So, thank you for spending your time with us.
Absolutely. Thank you. It's nice to be virtually with you.
Yes, I know.
Hanging
One
it
of these
together.
Yes, one of these days we'll have to be in real person. I think it's or in real life, IRL, right?
There you go. Yeah, I like it.
Yeah.
Mm.
All right. Well, I'm bringing you on because you have an incredible wealth of knowledge in the dental industry. And to be exact, 30 years of time in the dental industry, starting in high school when you volunteered in a dental office.
I did.
And I would love to hear the story of how you've woven your way to where you are now, because it really is an amazing story. So can you walk us through that and
Sure.
why you do what you do and love what you do?
So when I first got into dentistry, I was in high school and we had that health classes and you could then go out and do some on the job training or kind of see if that's the career path you wanted to take. And I had braces and my orthodontist was really cute. And they wore the cutest outfits, and this is way back in the '80s, before all those cute outfits were really a thing. So it was the orthodontist that kinda had started that. So that was my intro into dentistry, and then I got to work with a fantastic dentist in our town. Um, I didn't realize how good he was
Mhm.
until I was gone and an adult and in this capacity as a coach, actually. But I did get to go see him recently and tell him what an
Oh,
impact he had on
oh,
those years. So that was really cool. But
that's
I was volunteering. I mean, and this is like pegboard, little charts to pull for the recall, and no gloves when I started.
no gloves.
No gloves. Because I remember he
Crazy.
asked me to assist one day when an assistant was out, and I was like, okay." But I fell in love with dentistry. I fell in love with helping people, changing smiles, building their confidence, helping them overcome fears. I mean, there's just so much about that patient relationship that was just I loved it. It was perfect.
Mhm. Awesome.
Loved it.
So then you went to school for dental assisting and
Yeah.
got expanded functions
I
dental
did.
assisting,
I
right?
did. So I got to
Mhm.
do a lot of stuff, which was a lot of fun. And then I went on to college as well, trying to figure out what I wanted to do when I grew up. But I kept coming back to dentistry, and I didn't want to be a hygienist. So I just kept playing around with different things and ended up being a new patient coordinator and then an office manager and then a practice management coach. So just took all those steps and learned everything I could about every piece of a practice and then just found like this is where home is.
Right, right. And I think in your bio you said that it was the love of a mentor, Victoria Peterson, right?
It
That's
was.
who really inspired maybe you to even take your career to new heights. Would you say?
Absolutely. Yeah, she was
Mhm.
a coach. She came in as a coach to a practice I was working in. And as soon as she came in, other consultants out there, sometimes it's like you're the death stare, like we're not going to like you. Or you get the one person on the team that's like, yeah, we're doing this. And I just really tapped into what she was doing and bringing and changing our practice and changing us individually. And I said,
Mhm.
I want to do that. I want to do that. I want to have that impact and influence.
Mhm.
So I went for it.
Oh,
Yeah, it was
I
good.
love that. And you said something really important there. You said not just changing the practice, but changing each member of the practice individually.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's unique.
I have a real passion for helping team members find their spot or their passion and getting rid of that stigma of I'm just the assistant here or I just do the insurance or whatever it is and create value for their role, for their
Mhm,
contributions, for their ideas
mhm.
and helping the ones that want to grow to the next level. And that's what, and the practice is going to grow because of those things, but really tapping into each individual team member,
Mhm.
finding their strengths, helping leverage those strengths. I mean, that's what I get excited about. And for
Mm,
them to be like, yes, I'm a better assistant, a better hygienist because of how I show up, my mindset, and my contributions to this practice really matter. I'm
oh,
heard. So I
mhm.
love that.
You
Yeah,
know, and I think that's a really good important point as well because each practice is so unique depending on the players in that practice.
exactly.
And so it makes me think that what you do is not cookie cutter. It's not, it's really unique based on the people in the practice and their vision. Is that correct?
Absolutely. The doctor have this great vision, and we have to look at the players. And is
Mhm,
this realistic? Who's on our team? What are their skill sets? And I know that's what you want, but how are we going to help you get there? Because
mhm,
here's our team players. So we've got to either help them become more successful or get the right team players in there for you. And
mhm,
sometimes that's the hard part. And they can't look at what, Dr. Smith down the street has,
mhm,
because they've got a different set of players, and they've got to have their own unique vision for that, and helping them discover that and then tap into it and then watch it come to fruition is just like that's
mhm.
the magic that happens.
Yeah. Well, and I suppose too, maybe just even making sure people are in the correct positions in the practice for where their strengths are.
Exactly. Sometimes we hire people, and in their mind, they think this is what I want to do, and they think they're pretty good at it. So, I mean, in
Mhm,
all fairness, we hired them, and we think that's a good fit. And if we take the time to do it right, we can either make them better in that position, or we can tap into something that we may not have noticed on that interview, and just be able
mhm,
to say, you know what, you'd be really great doing this, and then to
mhm,
watch them just blossom in
mm.
that role where they take ownership of it, and the pride. That's when teams and practices really grow, when you get more team players like that.
Mhm. Oh, I love that. And so your what you do is practice consulting, but it's also practice coaching, isn't it?
Yes, it is both things, and
Mhm.
knowing the difference, and sometimes trainer.
Oh,
Sometimes I'm training a specific system.
mhm,
So then you got to switch gears sometimes in that role. So I try to meet people and teams where they are, and then
mhm.
help them grow on that path.
Oh, I love that. And you started this, your first passion was really helping office managers. Is that correct? Is that
It
where
was.
your first coaching
Yeah, my
consulting
first
came in?
coaching was with office managers, because when I came into office manager position, there was no real training. Number one, it was kind
Mm.
of like, you're going to do these things and good luck. And this was before ADOM was born. So, you just kind of had to figure things out. And when I started coaching, I really saw doctors wanting help from office managers, and office managers not knowing how to give it
Mm,
and
mhm,
meet them, and them not being able to communicate what needed to happen. Like, what am
mhm,
I looking for? How do I let her know? And how do we come together for that? So I really had a passion for taking those office managers and going, here's what a really good office manager can do for their doctor, their team, their patients, and for yourself, and
mhm,
how we communicate that to the doctor. Doctors typically don't know all the things that are happening at the front anyways. I mean,
mm-mm,
it's just hard to know everything. Your skills are in the back. Your relationship is assistants, and then hygienist, and then what are y'all doing up there? Answering the
mhm,
phone, filing your
mhm.
nails. I mean, what's happening? So it's like, having that bridge that gap in communication there.
Right, right. Yeah, and and once everybody does have a bit of an understanding of everybody's roles and their strengths and what they're good at, it's almost like everybody can be their own individual spoke on the wheel that then
Yes.
rolls smoothly, right?
Smoothly, absolutely. Yeah, we know our role. We show up.
Mhm,
We can do it. We can get support when we need it, but we're moving forward. And
mhm,
I love the mindset of, patient first, team second, and self third.
mm.
Take care of patients, and then
Yep.
take care of each other, and
Oh,
everything else is going to work out.
that's beautiful. I love that philosophy.
Yeah.
Oh. So when you come into an office, what are some of the things that you focus on? What are some of the areas that are really important, the pieces that are really important that you make sure are in place?
Good. That's a great question. A lot of times when doctors call me, what I hear is I can't get them to do X, Y, and Z. I don't
Mhm,
know what's happening, um, or we have no systems in place.
mm,
And
mhm,
so, really, there are systems, they're just not working well for you. So,
mm,
or we've got people in the wrong spot, or ready to
mhm,
fire somebody. And it's like, well, did we train them?
mm,
So, of course, reviewing the systems are critical, but I like to get with the doctor and find out, what's really most important to you? What's your vision for this practice?
mhm,
Does the team know that? And
mm,
oftentimes, well, I think I kind of told them, and they don't know. And so I think when they don't know,
mhm.
team members show up and do a job. There's no
Right,
buy-in. There's no
right.
commitment at that higher level. So starting with that piece and let's verbalize that. And then I'm a big believer in goal setting and
Mhm,
sharing those goals.
mm,
The team can make adjustments when they know where they stand. And I
mm,
firmly believe that. And it's not, they don't have to know how much you make or what the total overhead is per se, but what do we need to produce and collect a day to have a healthy practice and get
mm,
you guys paid and maybe some bonus. And if
mhm,
we track that every day and share that, the
mhm,
team can say, oh, look, we're way under or we're way over. And they can
mhm,
make adjustments and get them fired up on what's my personal role in the success of this practice.
mm,
Kind of lay that. I love laying that piece out. And because every team member has a role and it counts and it matters to the bottom
mhm.
of the practice.
Right.
So,
Right. Yeah. That's interesting. Just, giving the team members goals, but also the agency and hope for a better future with the practice, right? And knowing that they have a piece of that and they can contribute to those goals, I suppose is probably pretty eye-opening to some practices if they haven't been talking goals and visions, right?
exactly. And the team just doesn't know. And I think when the team doesn't know, they make up stories in their head.
Uh,
Those stories can be good or they can be bad. More often
mhm,
than not, they're bad.
mhm,
Something's happening. So it's really when I talk to doctors, leadership is the issue
mm,
a lot of times, whether they know it or not. Sometimes they recognize it. I know I'm not a good leader. That's why I
mhm,
can't get them to do anything or
mhm,
why this doesn't happen. So tapping into that leadership piece, but
mhm,
as well as having those team members step up for personal responsibility and accountability for their role. And
mhm,
sometimes that's easy and it's the people that you're already with.
mhm,
Other times it's tough choices to say this person no longer aligns with our beliefs, our vision, and we've got to move them out to make room for somebody that does.
mhm,
And that's some hard choices sometimes.
mhm. Yeah. Yeah. So being passionate about leadership, because that I think is critical. A lot of times that is not something that is taught in dental school. And then it's something that needs to be nourished, cultivated. And how do you go about that? What is your theory on leadership within the practice and how important that is?
So I am a huge John Maxwell follower. I don't know if anybody know who John Maxwell is, but he is the leadership guru out there in the world in business. And his book, The 21 Irrefutable Laws of Leadership, is one of my absolute favorites. And I always have new doctors read that book. And then we discuss it. And we look for the things that we already or they already have some natural tendencies towards or leverage towards. And so, how can we increase it for a better impact or
Mhm,
something that they're extremely weak on next and know that they have to make some changes
mhm,
to get to that next level. And
mhm,
leadership is tough. And high performing team members want strong leadership.
mhm, mhm,
And so when you don't have strong leadership, that's when really good team members leave
mhm,
because they really are looking for that leadership piece.
mhm,
And it doesn't mean that you're mean. I think some,
Right.
especially in women dentists that I've had over the years, it's
Mm.
I don't want to be the brat
Mhm.
where when a man does it, it's normal.
Mhm.
But you could, so walking that line of how do you show up as a leader, as a
Mhm.
female especially, and still lead your team, and they respect that line
Mhm.
and not have to be buddy buddy with them. So it's
Right.
always a interesting combination there with leadership.
Mhm.
But that's
Mhm.
my go-to book for doctors to start with, and let's just tap in to see, what do you already have? What are you good at naturally? And then how can we leverage that? And
Mm.
then that becomes communication with the team, is
Mm.
how you're gonna lead them. Because if you're just barking orders, you're just barking orders. You're not a leader. You're just walking around by yourself. No
Right.
one's actually following you.
Mhm.
The other thought is I believe everyone's a leader in some way. We have some influence over people. And
Mhm.
your team likely has a leader.
Mm.
It just may not be the leader that you want. So
Mm.
you have to look at that culture because
Mhm.
somebody's leading that team.
Right.
And which way are they leading them? Positive or negative? I
Mhm.
guarantee it's happening. There is a
Mhm.
leader there. So
Mhm.
better
Yeah,
find out
that's a
who it
really
is.
interesting point. That you think about that, there are leaders, and let's make sure they're leading in the right direction. So I
Absolutely.
bet as you go through that book with your doctors, I bet it just opens up a whole new world of possibilities, for them and their practices.
Absolutely. Yes. Just to opening eyes to things they didn't know.
Right.
You just didn't know.
Yeah.
You just know you were hitting the wall. You knew that you weren't getting results. Something's in your way.
Mhm.
So it's about tapping into that and going, great, that's first step. Let's recognize it. Now, what's our action steps? What do we need to do different to get those results that you want to have happen?
Mhm. Mhm. And so once you establish leadership, with the doctor, then is it then also tapping into the leadership roles in the team as well, and really, leveraging all that different leadership, and how can we work together?
It is, and that's the best part. Even in small practices,
Mhm.
everyone's a leader. Even more so, I think, when it's a small practice, because everything we do really matters and counts and has a ripple effect on the other person.
Mhm.
And then in larger practices, of course, I'm a big believer of team leaders. So
Mhm.
there's a lead for the business team, assistant team, hygiene team,
Mhm.
maybe even another clinical lead to help with the liaison of all that. And helping elevate their status creates some pride and ownership in the practice with them. They feel like they've got some skin in the game for it, and
Mhm.
they'll work harder for you
Mhm.
because of that. They
Mhm.
want that success.
Mhm. Oh, and that word ownership is such a lofty word, because it translates to more than just at the office, doesn't it?
It does. Yeah, it carries on in everything that they do. I think a lot of times when we're talking with and doing team meetings, and I've been coaching teams for some years now, let's say, and we work on communication a lot. You
Mhm.
get leadership and that communication. That's all you guys do all day. You're not
Mhm.
doing dentistry on each other, so it's only communication. And the
Mhm.
skills that we're able to teach and show them, they take home with them.
Mm.
They don't, it doesn't turn off and go, now I'm at home, I'm going to forget everything I learned. So it's really, I've had team members tell me, I'm a better mom, a better
Oh,
wife, a better communicator because of the things I learned about myself and how to talk to patients that I can take home and use as well. So that's always makes me feel like really good. Like,
oh,
yes, it's a
yes,
big,
that has to be a rewarding, like that. I mean, ultimately, isn't that what we want? We want better
yes.
humans.
Yeah, we want better humans across the board. And
Yeah.
if we can get them better at work, they take those skills home too.
Oh,
So
yes.
I love that. That's the best part, I think, is hearing
Oh,
those kind of, yes, they did great at work and that's fabulous. But to
mhm,
hear that they took skills home, that's when I
mhm,
know that I had an impact,
mhm.
influence. And that's what I really love.
Oh, I bet. Oh, well, speaking of John Maxwell and his book, you have a book as well.
Ooh.
And it's called Coming Home to a Better Practice. So tell us a little bit about how this book came to be and a little bit about it and why you picked this title.
Yeah, thanks. I am, for if you guys don't know me, I am a Southern girl. I live in Florida. So a lot of the phrases that I say when I'm speaking sometimes come off really Southern. And so people in the South get it. And my Northeastern clients are like, what? Oh, that's really cute. So, I mean, it kind of works. But we talk about our practice, it is our second home. Think about how much time we spend with these people.
Mhm.
It's a lot of time.
A lot of time.
We've heard the stories of that's my work wife, it's my work family. So it
Mhm.
really is your home.
Right.
And in the book, when I started writing this, I just wanted to share thoughts and ideas and success to help other people
Mhm.
make some small shifts that could have a big impact for them.
Mhm.
So we walk through those kind of things like building a house and creating that environment and looking in the mirror as a leader and how to do the things so that you can come home to a better practice.
Mm.
And if you're going to spend a lot of time with these people,
Mhm.
let's create this. And families fuss. I mean,
Mhm.
it's not always, butterflies and rainbows. There's going to be some
Right.
discussions, but
Mhm.
how do we have productive discussions
Mm.
and difference of opinions? And how do we feel safe to express it,
Mm.
share it, and then come to a agreement about how we're going to move forward in this practice family? And I think
Mhm.
that's where people get stuck so often. We
Ah,
just don't, we avoid it or we blow up and
yes.
then nothing happens and
Yes.
people leave. And if we could have just sat down and talked through it,
Mhm.
we could have come up with a great solution. We
Yeah.
can't, but we're afraid to have those conversations. So we talk about that in the book too, a little bit.
You
Yeah.
know, you make such a good point there, and I love how you described it, as a family, and that families have times that are rough. Families have times where they're not getting along. Families have times where they have to have hard conversations. And to translate that into your work family and say, it's the same.
Yeah.
You're building this home, you're building this family, and because I think that a lot of people see a practice and they think that everything is rainbows and unicorns.
Yes, they do.
But, if you really get down to it, maybe it's because everybody's holding everything in
Mhm.
or they're not talking about those things. And the healthier practices are the ones that really dig into that, right?
Exactly. They gotta get it out. There's this, we're great at just pushing things under the rug, and then there's this big pile, and then it's like something stupid that sets somebody off, and it wasn't that thing. It wasn't that the instruments weren't sterilized at that point. It was something
Right.
crazy. Yeah, it
Right.
built up to that point. So
Yep.
I think just handling things and learning how to do it. If none of us were taught that way in our own families
Mhm.
or any other work kind of family, we don't know how to handle that stuff. We don't know
Mhm.
what to do with it.
Mhm.
And creating that culture of let's fix the system and have a
Mhm.
healthy conversation. One of the things Victoria Peterson taught me years ago is it's typically not a person that's a defect, it's a defect in the system.
Mm.
So being able to look at it and say, you know what, let me let's revisit the actual system.
Mhm.
Do we have the right person doing the system? And does this system even make sense? I know
Mhm.
you've done it this way for the last 10 years when Sally was here.
Mhm.
Is it still a good system?
Mm.
Maybe not. Things have
Mhm.
changed. So
Mhm.
being brave enough to say, you know what, I don't know why we do all those steps.
Right.
Nobody
Right.
knows why, but the person that trained them did it. So now I do it. It's
Mhm.
just like we're repeating this, but no one knows why. So
Right.
tapping into that.
That's beautiful because it does then take, it's hard to have those challenging conversations and not take things
Oh,
personally.
yes.
And sometimes when that happens, you aren't even hearing the rest of the conversation because you've just taken something personally. And then the conversation is not productive.
No, no. Yeah, one of the first meetings I do with teams, and then we do this every year, is creating team agreements. And after we've explained the vision of the practice and got that from the doctor, then we talk about our agreements of how we're going to play together and show up in this work environment. And
Mhm,
some of those agreements are often take things personally.
mhm,
Hard to do, and we all admit that.
mhm,
But if we all strive for that, we can get there. And just,
mhm.
I'm not going to take it personal. But then that also helps us say, okay, so how am I going to come and tell you
Yes.
and have a conversation about it versus come at you? I
Yes.
have found that team agreements have helped many, many
Mm,
practices. Then we review them every year. And sometimes some of those agreements can go away because now there's just ingrained in the culture.
mm,
And then when
mhm.
you bring in new people, you can say, these are our agreements here. Do these make sense to you? What questions do you have about those? Can you live by these agreements?
Mhm.
Prospective employees are like, holy smoke, they're serious here. This is great. Or holy smoke, that's serious here. I don't want to play at that level.
Right.
And then you know,
Then you know.
okay,
Yep. Yeah.
okay.
What do you tell teams as far as when to have those conversations? I mean, I remember a busy day in the office and something may happen and you're on stage with patients.
Yes.
You can't take that moment to have that conversation. And then at the end of the day, you say, I'm gonna have that conversation. But then at the end of the day, you're tired, somebody's rushing out the door to get their kids. How do you educate teams as far as the timing of conversations?
So what I'd like to do is we talk about a 24-hour rule.
Mm,
And so before the end of that day, though, we have to at least acknowledge that we have to have a conversation. And I know
okay.
now might not be good for you. So can we do it tomorrow at 7:15 or before we start our day, or tomorrow at the end of the day? I want to address the issue,
Mhm,
and just making sure you at least have that agreement.
mhm.
What we do is say nothing, or we complain to everybody else about what
Mhm.
happened, and that
Right,
doesn't help anything. So at
right.
least to say, Laura, I know we had that crazy hiccup today, and I want to talk to you about it. I know if now's not good, can we do it tomorrow morning or tomorrow at lunch? I want to get it. I want to have a conversation about it,
Oh,
and just okay.
that's
Most people are going
excellent.
to say okay,
That's
and it's
excellent.
probably not the best time. And if they say no, now's good, then have it then before you go home. If you
Mm,
can make it happen, if nobody has to run out to get kids and all
mhm.
that kind of stuff. If you can do it before you leave,
Right,
golden.
right. I love that. That the 24-hour rule. I'm actually going to use that with my teenagers, I think.
Yes, it's a good rule for them too.
Oh,
I like
I
it.
love it. Excellent.
Yeah.
All right. Well, you are offering everybody either a copy of your book
Yes,
or a complimentary consultation.
correct.
So I have your email flashing down below. And I'd like to remind everybody that I will also put all these links and information in the comments below and in the show notes below as well. So, um, but walk us through a complimentary consult. If someone's interested in learning more, what can they expect when they have a complimentary consult with you?
What I love about when I do this is I let who the doctor that's calling drive the agenda. What's the burning pain point that you have right now? And let's talk
Mhm.
about it. Let's see what would have to happen. And versus me driving the agenda of what I can do, why don't you
Mhm.
tell me what your pain point is right now? And let's figure out how we can move forward and relieve that pain point for you.
Mm.
So,
There is a reason that you are as successful as you are because that right there it just shows that you care, number one, about the people you work with very much. And number two, that you are there to help them in their unique situation.
right.
And I think that that is what dental offices crave. Because no dental office is the same.
No, they're all so different, and each team member is so different, and you can't say, it's interesting because can you give me a job description for, I don't know, the insurance coordinator or the recall or any of those positions, and you think it would be the same, right?
Mhm.
But for every office, there's a little caveat to each of them,
Mhm.
and not to mention the team member that's in that role.
Uh-huh.
So that's how I create that job description for that person
Mhm,
based on who's in that seat and what it really looks like for them.
mhm.
I can't give you a blanket one and say, yeah, plug this in. It'll work
Right,
fine. It
right.
doesn't.
Mhm. Awesome. Oh, well, I have thoroughly enjoyed this conversation, getting to know you a little better and how you work your magic. Is there anything else that we didn't touch on today that you wanted to make sure that we talked about?
I think we hit everything. I mean, I'm looking forward to some complimentary consults because those are my favorite to hear the challenges and
Mhm.
know that I can help somebody and make a difference in their life and their practice. We work really hard in dentistry and we don't have to be stressed out constantly. And if we
Is
can find some balance, then
Mhm.
that's the win, right?
Right.
And lowering stress
Mhm.
is what it's all about. If we can lower stress in our already hard dentistry, then it's a win. And
Yeah.
getting the right team in that place to do that and leadership, all those things help lower your stress, believe it or not.
Right. And then you're better for your patients,
Absolutely.
ultimately.
Yep. You are a better version of yourself when you're not that stressed. It's
Right.
easier to be on for showtime when you're not so stressed.
So true. So true. Well, speaking of balance, one of the last things I always ask my guest is what tip do you have for our listeners as far as in any area of balance in your life? Do you have something that's working well for you or something you want to share?
I do because I've been working with you and listening to you a lot. And what I've been doing, which has been fantastic, is I have been shutting off my cell phone and just walking away from it. And then what brings me that joy is to go read or sit outside.
Mhm,
And it doesn't even have to be long. That 10
mhm,
minutes
mhm,
of some fresh air, a magazine article, or just sit there and breathe and watch the birds has really been so energizing
mhm,
to take that break for
mhm.
myself where I feel like, oh, I can't leave the computer right now or my phone. What if somebody calls me? Um, it's so much better when I come back because I have that energy to make it through the rest of the day and give, whether it's to my clients or give to my family, because I
Mhm,
took those 10 minutes away from everything and just
mhm.
took care of me for a few minutes.
Oh, that is fantastic. I love hearing that. I love hearing how you can feel the difference
Oh,
in
big,
yourself.
big time.
Mm,
It's
awesome.
crazy. Yep. I love it.
Excellent. All right. Well, thank you so much for spending the afternoon with us. I know it's a little later where you are in Florida, so I want to just throw up your website again. If you
Yes.
want to check out everything about Angela, it's on her website. She speaks, she coaches, she consults, she has workshops, she has all sorts of things that could help you or your practice. So check out her website. And if you're interested in a complimentary consultation or her book, Coming Home to a Better Practice, drop her an email. She is one of the nicest humans in the whole wide world. So you will be happy that you connected with her. So please reach out. Thank you, Angela, for spending some time with us
Thank
today.
you,
And
Laura.
yeah, and keep doing the good work.
Thank you. You too. Keep us in balance. Keep us
All
in
right. We'll do our best. All right, everybody. Remember, you're the CEO of your life. Now become the boss of your balance. And we'll see you again soon. Bye.
balance. Bye-bye.